Welcome back, Android developers. In this video, we're gonna go ahead and look at UI elements, but in a different perspective. So far, we've been looking at all of the UI input controls, such as buttons, text field, text views, and so forth, using drag and drop. But there's also a different way of creating those in our projects, which is going directly into the XML files and start typing, entering all the properties ourselves. And you may ask, well, why do we need to focus on that if I can just go into the design mode and drop and drag and have everything working? Yes, you can, and you can always use both design mode and text mode. But it's always important as a developer to learn two different ways really well. And I think it's important to get us into actually writing ourselves the XML as much as we can so that we get used to it. So let's go ahead and create a new project. We go start a new Android Studio project. We're going to call UI Views XML. It's UI Views XML. Go next. That's all good. Going to get a blank one. Let's finish. Of course, our project is being created. So there it is. We have our project. Again, let's adjust a few things here. Alright, so let's go ahead and look at our text view here so we can start looking at our XML layouts. So the first thing we see is this angle bracket here, which starts every element of our layout. So we have a relative layout here, and we have a text view. Let's just go like this to make it more readable. Excellent. So when you start a tag, since this is a parent tag, meaning that relative layout is a parent layout, is the canvas of our view. So everything that we put inside this beginning, the start tag here, relative layout, and there's the ending here, everything that's inside here belongs to the parent layout. And you notice we have this XML Android and we have this link here. Every time you create a layout, this is included for you most of the times. Now if you look under here, we start inserting certain properties to our layout, to our view. It says here layout width is match parent, which means it's flexible. It just fits whatever the size is on the screen, and everything is match parent here. Also in the height. And we have padding left. So padding left, it just gives a little bit of padding in the left side of that view. In this case, the relative layout, and padding top, padding right, and all of so. And you have this tools context here, and you notice it has .main activity. It's just telling you this view here is connected to our main activity Java here. Now, then here you see we have a text view. We've talked about text view, and then in text view we have this add string hello world. We learned that this is actually a good way of always referencing your strings by putting all of your text into your values strings file. Then you have again layout, width, and height, and set to wrap content and wrap content. So as you can see here, all of this gives us what you see here. So hello world and this background here. So whenever we want to create our own by actually typing in our XML, we always start with the angle bracket open to open our tag, and then we start typing whatever we want to UI element we want to include in our view here. In this case, you see there's a lot of options, some of which we haven't talked about, but they're all the same. They're just UI views, user interface views that we can put into our app. For instance, the button here, the moment you hit enter, it populates everything that is important to create a button. As you can see, Android layout width, it's important to have for any view, and we could either say 123 dp, or we can say wrap content to make it flexible again, wrap content. And every time you create a view, it's very important to create an ID. So the way you create an ID in code, you say Android and then just say ID. You hit enter, you're giving all these options here. UI element, you start by saying @+ID/ and then you name it whatever you want. In this case, we can say my button. And we can also add properties to our button, we can say Android, you go colon, and then you have all these properties here, a lot of, and most of them obviously are very self-explanatory, like layout, aligned right. What does that mean? That means, well, you have to write to the right of a parent view and so forth, and we get to that. Let's go to the simple ones first. Let's say we want to add text like that, then we can just go ahead, either go at string, and then we say my button title. We haven't created that, so we can just copy the title and go to strings, and we're gonna go and create here. So string name, we're gonna paste what we just inserted and say I am a button, and save. We go back, you see that's all gone now, and save. And whenever we want to check it out, you can see there is I am a button. You can see it's at the top here. Now inside of this property, we can specify where we want that button to be. We want to be at center, we want to be at the bottom, left. So the way we do that, we say Android colon, we say layout underscore, say center horizontal. So center or horizontal takes true or false, so we can say true. What this means, that means we're going to center horizontally. We save this, you can see right away what that is going to do. You see? So horizontally, it's centered. Now if you want to make it so that it actually gets it set horizontally, vertically and horizontally, well, guess what? You can do the same. You can say Android layout center vertical and say true. Save that and you go back here, you'll see it's going to be in the middle of the screen. There you go. So the good thing about layout center horizontal and layout center vertical is that it doesn't matter what kind of phone, or if it's a tablet or if it's just a phone, it will always, this button, it will always be at the center of the screen. Let's say we want to go ahead and put an edit text here. So again, we start angle brackets. So as you can see, the moment you start typing edit text and you hit enter, and all of it is populated here for you. This is great. So let's go ahead and say wrap content again. So enter. We're gonna wrap content again, enter. Let's all put an ID. Let's say Android ID, enter, and enter again. And we're gonna call this my edit text. Now if we wanted, let's go ahead and view this, see how it's gonna, where is that gonna be? Oh, it's somewhere here. Now let's say we want this to be right at the bottom of I am a button here. There's a few ways you could do this. I'll show you the not very efficient way or flexible way. You could say Android and go find a different property. You can say margin layout margin top. You can specify, let's say, start guessing 234 dp. So what this says is that from the top of the screen here, all right? So it's a margin top. The reference is the top of the screen. So as you can see, our edit text is now here. So that was great because we said 234 dp. So there are times you want to do that, but this is not good because as you see, we actually had to go and start guessing exactly where we want to be, and even then we actually wanted this to be actually at the bottom here. We could go ahead and start guessing again and say Android layout margin left, and we can say 150 dp and save and go here, and okay, now we know it's here, and that means we have to go down a little bit more here, so add another 10 here, save, and okay. So you see, it's a lot of work because you have to figure out what things are. Likely with a relative layout, we don't need to do this. We can always use it, but we don't need to do it if we know exactly where we want it to put. As you see, every element we tend to have to put an ID. We can use that ID to then reference it and say we want to be to the left or at the bottom or to the top. So the way we do this is very simple. We can say Android layout below. You can see what this takes, it takes an ID of the layout we want to be below of, right? So in this case we can say at ID, well, what ID? My button. So if you go my button and save this, look at the magic here, and there it is. It's way below here, right? You can see even this arrow and this green lines here saying, okay, yep, you put it out below there. And if you want to actually make it vertically and horizontally layout center it, you can say Android layout center horizontally true. And guess what? You go here. It is right here in the middle of everything here. Let's go ahead and give it some text so that you can see how it's going to look. Well, look at that. So now you can see the power we have in our hands when it comes to setting things up using properties in our UI elements that we set. There's so many we can go through, and as we move into developing more apps in this course, you will see that I'll be coming more towards this way of coding. We're still going to use this drag and drop, which is very helpful because it just creates a template for us. It's wonderful. You can go and use the properties and everything. I'm not saying it's wrong, but I want you to also start exploring doing things this way, because then you become a better developer by going right into the code and do it yourself. I will leave this to you. Go ahead and explore our other properties such as layout. You can see here layout, align bottom, align end, align left. So go ahead and explore other properties you can create, you can add to your views, to your UI controls, and create many others. Like you can go ahead and create, let's say, a text view here and add properties and just play around with it. It's a good exercise. Alright, see you in the next video.